JJ the CPA here. Hope you're doing well. So how long do you have to go back and get the employee retention tax credit if you didn't already take advantage of it? Well, first you would be filing a Form 941X to go back and claim a employee retention tax credit to get your check or a credit carry forward. So then what we do is we look at, well, what's the due dates to file a 941X? And it is 2 dates. Now, the good news is we get the latter of the two. So the first date we go by is it's 2 years from the date that the original tax was paid related to Form 941, or 3 years from the original due date of the original Form 941. So Form 941, and I'm going to put a link in the body of the video here that I'm actually going to spell this out for you, as well as give you a link to the directions or instructions to the Form 941X, where you can just look for yourself as well. But when we talk about the latter of the 2 year or the 3 year, so for 99.999% of you, you're paying your tax timely, you're going to get the latter, meaning you're going to get easily the 3 year option. Now, the first thing I just want you to note is this. If you're watching this at the end of 2021 or anytime in 2022, you still have plenty of time when we look at the 3 year mark. But nonetheless, the original due date of Form 941, because that's what we're looking at here, is always the end of the month following the quarter in which the Form 941 covers. Now, Form 941 always covers a calendar quarter. So, for instance, January, February, and March of any year, that's first quarter. Well, that Form 941 to report that payroll activity in those 3 months in first quarter is April 30th. So I've laid out all those specifics. So when we then know, well, if first quarter is due April 30, then 3 years from that is when your 941X would be due to report any employee retention tax credit that was in that first quarter. So that would be, if we're looking at first quarter of 2021, well, then Form 941 would be due April 30th of 2021. And then you'd have 3 years from that date to file Form 941X. So if it was filed on April 30th of 21, then we'd have till 22, 23, and 24. So you would have all the way until April 30th of 2024 to be able to file a 941X and claim a credit for first quarter 2021. Now, I do want to note to you that if you are filing a Form 941X related to the employee retention tax credit in 2020, you will also see in the instructions to Form 941X, which I'm giving you a link to, that any employee retention tax credit that you're claiming in first quarter of 2020, right? So this is all the way back to 2020 if it's in first quarter, which would be wages that were paid on March 13th, 2020 through March 31st of 2020. If you have any qualified wages during that period of time, you are to report it on second quarter Form 941X. And the reasoning for that was when the employee retention tax credit came out related to this in the CARES Act, the IRS didn't have it on their form. And therefore, there was no way to reflect it on Form 941 in first quarter of 2020. So the IRS indicated very clearly, if you have a credit in that little pocket of time, that you would report it on second quarter 941X for 2020. So if you do have then wages that qualify in that first quarter of 2020, which would be that sliver of dime that I just told you, and you have it in second quarter of 2020, well, all of that is to be reported on Form 941X marked for second quarter 2020, and that would have been due July 31st of 2020. And therefore, you would have 3 years from July 31st of 2020 to go all the way back and get a credit. So what's 3 years from that date? So we would have till 21, 22, and 23. So you'd have all the way till July 31st of 2023 to go back. So you have plenty of time to get this. Now I do have a seminar that you get instant access to where I walk it through with you A to Z on how to get this tax credit, as in, do you qualify? How do you qualify? How do you calculate it? How do you go about determining what wages and employer paid health insurance is included? It's a powerful credit. In 2020, it's up to 50%, up to, in 2021, it's up to 70%. So what you want to take a look at here is ensuring that if you can get this money back, that you do. Because when you file a Form 941X, you can select the option for refund and they will send you a check, they being the IRS. So if you have employees, you really need to be taking a look at this. All right, I've got a number of other videos on this if you don't want to take my seminar, so I'm going to put a link to my playlist related to this as well. All right, hey, thanks for tuning in. I'd love it if you'd subscribe, and then don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me. All right, thank you. Have a great one.